Welcome everyone to the Island Life podcast, where we journey onto the island of discovery to relive some of the best and worst moments of Survivor. My name is Will, an experienced Survivor fan, 48 seasons deep, and I will be your guide. And joining us on this special two-person adventure is our Survivor newbie, the brand new Survivor fan who just finished his 5th season of the show. I give you Survivor F.
Hey there, Will. How's everyone doing? Happy to be here.
Yes, we're flying through the season. We're at the end. This is season 46. Another season 46 episode here. This was about episodes 9 and 10. And something that we've been going through is realizing the different arcs of the show, like as if we're talking about Dragon Ball, talking about arcs. So we had like a Bandu arc, and I think we called like the self-destruct arc or something like that.
Yeah, right.
And so now like maybe you can call it like the chaotic arc, or maybe just put it all on Q, like the saga of Q, but really we are seeing some bizarre Survivor. But it is seemingly organized. The chaos is organized around Q. So before we get into it, like how was your descent into madness while you were watching these two episodes?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And just to throw another name in there, I would even consider calling it the distraction saga. But we had a lot of thoughts as I was watching this with you, and it as you might recall from the previous set of episodes, I was saying that the way this season is trending, it's not something I'm enjoying as much as the other seasons because of all that chaos and everything that's going on, and I'm hoping for a little bit more calm strategy to come out as we go further and further along. And just getting into these next two episodes, it just seems like there's more of the same. There's chaos, yet at the same time, there's a lot of predictability to the chaos, if that makes a little sense. So this has been a season where it just seems like people are fumbling things left and right, and if it's making the people I would be rooting for advance further rather than the people who I would have liked to see advance, who are ultimately getting eliminated. So in that sense, it is taking me out of it a little bit, but I don't want to rush to conclusions. I think you should give the entire season a shot and see how it concludes. Things can change. I would find it hard to believe that this season moves up into like my top 3, for example, but it can certainly move out of last place. But it's just been a lot thrown at you. We had last episode end with a lot of confusion because of Q going into tribal and causing chaos because he's looking to self-destruct and telling everyone to vote him out. Ultimately, we see Tevin get voted out, and it seems like there was a little bit of strategy employed there. And the one thing I had to consider was, maybe this is something where Q is just really thinking outside the box, and what they're showing is just kind of everyone's just kind of acting here, and it's like they're just really, really playing their roles. And that's just, honestly, that's more of a stretch than anything, but I'm just trying to find some logic for how things are coming about. But I just to summarize my thoughts, I think that I haven't had a lot of enjoyment in the sense that it feels like the person who has been fumbling the most is staying in the game, right? Whereas other people who are fumbling, self-destructing, they're getting eliminated, or there's some comeuppance there, or things are just not going their way, even if they're not currently eliminated. But the one person who's instigating, causing a lot of the chaos, is continued to be in the game, and it just does not make any sense to me. What did you think about that?
It feels like this is really big modern era, new era Survivor strategy at work. Even though, look, you've been exposed to both season 47 and 48 and 49, and parts of this I think happen in all those seasons. but the cue of it all is really warping how it goes. Here's what I mean. I think nowadays Survivor resume is at the heart of everybody's minds. Like, and I don't mind that because I want people to play to win, not play just to get there. And if you're gonna play to win, you got to think about what am I gonna tell the jury. So you should be planning for something about that. So usually, if you want to build a Survivor resume, it includes making a big move, and making a big move is usually getting out a threat. So it all becomes like, who am I identifying as a threat in the game, and when can I get them out? And
Right.
that in theory, that's what everyone's decisions are probably based on. But because Q is causing so much chaos, he's like a mix of being hated. We've seen that plenty of times. Like there's someone, a person that is hated by the tribe, but also just is volatile. You don't know what he's necessarily going to do. I mean, sometimes he's quitting, or who knows what he's doing. It does make it hard to judge, did you make the right move? Because let's think, we're going to kind of talk about these episodes in parallel because their storylines are very similar. And in both episodes, most people don't like Q and would be willing to get rid of Q. But also in both episodes, at least one person is interested in getting out a threat and taking advantage that Q would be an obvious target. So that threat is less likely to defend themselves and not think they're target. So I feel like what this comes down to is, were they legitimate threats? Because these were last week and these two episodes. They are both crazy blindsides. Not just crazy blindsides in these two, blindsides of people who had idols who were completely bamboozled. And that's usually like really exciting to watch on TV. So I'm thinking we need to parse out why, at least what you're saying, is you didn't get as excited as you would think you got for both of the blind sides. So starting with episode 9, it's going to be the Hunter blind side. So what part of it, I guess, didn't vibe with you, didn't get you like hyped?
It's just those thoughts in terms of, again, we're seeing someone fumble something. We talked about this, outside of this recording, where just going into this season, just taking a look back at the opportunities people had with idols and just not even really being able to make any use of them. And that has unfortunately become a recurring theme. So this is what I meant in terms of there's chaos abound, yet the way things are going, you're starting to see a consistent pattern. Even ending the most recent episode we watched, we're seeing a clear pattern even going into the next episode. So it's just, it causes a bit of predictability, but then it also causes a situation where, like, you don't know how things are going to play out. We see people talking about Q as though, yeah, like, we don't like working with him, we can't trust him. He literally just outed one of his number one and mentioned that she has an idol to the rest of the group, put her in a dangerous spot. And is he facing any repercussions for that? No. I mean, people like see the annoying aspect of working with him, or the unpredictability of working with him, where it can kind of blow up in your face. Most of the people he's been trying to work with have ultimately been eliminated up until now. Like, I don't know if anyone's been recognizing that, but it just seems like we're setting this up to be a season where Q can do no wrong, right? And while, yes, you might not see him as a big target because, okay, he might be imposing or a physical beast in challenges just based on, physical appearances, you would assume he'd do really well in challenges. The truth to it is, he hasn't been winning a lot of challenges. He's won challenges here and there, but for the most part, he doesn't have a lot he can stake his pride on and say, okay, this is what's going to take me to the end. This is what's going to get me the jury vote. So I feel like people are just, because they don't see a major threat behind him, they're just brushing him aside despite the chaos. And I would, in a sense, understand that if we didn't have a contestant like Venus as well, who also has not really gotten along with anyone, but she's still around just because, again, just similar to Q, no one really sees the threat with her. So, if there's one person like that, okay, But like, do I want to watch a season of Survivor where you have contestants battling each other out, and then at the end, it's a very obvious vote where two other people were just being strung along just because they were not seen as a threat? And then on top of that, we have all this chaos where things are like everything seems like a smokescreen, yet at the same time, the people who have opportunities to change and make an impact in the game with the advantages they have are not making use of them. Yeah, put all that together and it just makes for something that's not as enjoyable to watch.
Interesting. Maybe it's because like we're not seeing the traditional one group versus other group after the merge, and so like you're following the storyline of them battling, and maybe you have a traitor here and there, or a flip or a mistake. Like in this case, after episode 8, the one where Q just blows up the tribal council, it seems like it's everybody against Q, but then like specific pockets of the everyone are playing like an individual game, or at most they have like one ally.
Yeah.
So maybe part of it's like the storyline isn't compelling yet. So like Kenzie,
Yeah.
I was gonna say Kenzie, like she throws up like hate Q, don't want to work with him, don't want anything. But while everyone's distracted by Q, maybe this is when I can do my big move and vote out Tiffany, who everyone now knows has an idol, and that's like how crazy it would be. Like I can say I got out my own number one ally, like vote for me. Like that seems to be what she's going for.
Yeah, I think it
What
just makes
exactly?
me. I don't know if this just makes me want to like just think more positively about older seasons where people like because Survivor wasn't as big, people didn't realize as much about Survivor, or you didn't have like these super fans. But I think because how, you know, most people who come into the game nowadays are familiar with Survivor and know the ins and outs and what to do and navigate around certain things. I think I look at things more positively when someone's coming in and does not know what to do. They're kind of coming in blind and they just kind of have to adapt and survive in the situation around them. I think to your point, just because of how the modern era of Survivor is, we see people sometimes overplay their hand or do things because they're trying to play the game based on how they understand the game rather than we're seeing what someone would just naturally do based on their first inclination rather than how they've designed themselves to think around the game, right? Like just really jumping ahead here, but not to put the sequence there. We had an example of a Survivor contestant winning one of their challenges because they had prepped themselves for something with grip strength because they anticipated that, oh, they're like, you know, we're going to have challenges where we're going to be doing all these grip things. Imagine if like everyone did that, right? Like it's like everyone's coming in here, they're all prepared for, and they have
Oh,
an
so
idea of
so
what
so
they're
so
going to be
you didn't
dealing
like
with.
that when Charlie gets to reveal
I
like
liked
this. I
I
prepared,
like
and
the aspect of he came prepared, but I don't like what it represents in the game. I don't like the fact that, you know, to me, I find it enjoyable when someone has to adapt and come into a situation where they don't know what's going on. So part of like, while I'm talking about like, oh, I don't like all this chaos, I don't like how it's represented in this season. But I like the fact that when you come in, like there's chaos initially, right? Because you don't know what's going on, but then you adapt to your environment and then you figure things out. Obviously, like, you know, with seasons running every year, multiple times in a year even, and how big of a following it has, you have people who are familiar with Survivor, but I just it makes me appreciate aspects of Survivor when people did not know what Survivor was about and were just figuring it out while on the island.
you, I'm just smiling to myself because my heart grows 3 sizes as you slowly morph into a modern Survivor fan, because that what you describe is the very common feeling of fans out there of disliking game bots. Game bots being a term of like someone who like super fan of the show and like is always analyzing and preparing and thinking 10 steps ahead, and not really necessarily emotion, just like do these steps to win. So that's like the caricature of a game bot. So that's kind of what we call it. It's similar to what you're describing, which
Yeah.
but it's so interesting how you get there kind of on your own. So
Yeah, I mean,
that's,
look at it this way. Like you lose the natural aspect of how that person would behave in the game because they're gearing their play to what they're familiar with about Survivor, right? Like, do I know what Charlie is all about? Do I know what any of the other super fans in the past have been about? If, they weren't like big Survivor fans, like I wouldn't know that based on how they're playing the game. They're playing the game based on how familiar they are with Survivor. So in a sense, I'm not seeing their true self, right? Like it's hard to sometimes show that on reality TV, but like those are the moments that I appreciate where the human side comes out. You see someone, you see what someone's really about. And I'll touch back on this as we go into like the most recent episode.
mm,
I think there's another great example of it during one of the other challenges. But yeah, it's something where it just feels like you miss out on the genuineness of each contestant because they're not playing how they would just naturally play. They're playing because they're preparing themselves for all these outcomes and what would happen if this happened or what would happen if that happened. Seeing it for like a season or two is cool, but it's like if that's what every Survivor season is going to be like, then yeah, it kind of ruins a little bit of the experience for me personally.
mhm. And I not to be all doom and gloom. I mean, we would see 2 seasons later in 48, like Joe and Eva felt pretty genuine, even if fans might have got sick of it eventually.
Yeah.
But that was very emotional. But still, some they are trying to be strategic. Their strategy is keep our 4-person alliance or whatever they had together as long as possible. So they have both. They
And
had
just to
their genuine emotion and strategy.
add to your point, like I didn't feel as heavily about this in the previous seasons. I just feel like this season in particular, like it is just it for me, it just seems super obvious that it's happening. Right. Like I'm sure like if I really pay close attention, having watched other seasons now, season 47, my favorite season so far, the first season I watched, I would probably see aspects of that, but it wouldn't be as bad, I think, because like there's no moment that sticks out to me in season 47 where I'm like, okay, well, this one like episode really like honed in on that and ruined the episode for me. It's just, and even season 48, like we just recently watched that. I didn't really have thoughts to that extent about that season. And it feels like it's just this season, the way that it's been going, the way people are voting, how they're doing everything. It's like just to give you an example again, Jelinski gets out episode 1. Why? Because he fumbled. Episode 2, was it Jessica? Jessica essentially was not doing anything, so self-destructed. That's where I feel like we're at with Q today and with a broader group. And he is just ultimately getting away with it. And because everyone's kind of turning a blind eye to him, because they're at the point of we as people who are familiar with Survivor, in order to navigate and do what's best for our game, which they don't actually know, right? Like anything can happen. We're doing this, like because this is what we feel is going to be this is what we anticipate is going to happen. I'm going to hold on to my idol because I anticipate I might need it again in the future, which valid case, but like, it becomes a repetitive cycle of some sort of situation you create where it feels like someone who's not really earned still being in the game is continuing to just get pushed along because not because of his own actions, but because the people around him are just not really putting 2 and 2 together and figuring out what's causing some of the chaos that's causing them all to really divert and maybe not do what they should be doing. But again, that's just my own personal view on it. For a lot of them, it could be the right move. We still have to conclude the season, see how it goes. But I'll tell you right now, if who ends up winning the season, I would be very disappointed.
Well, let's talk about how close he's getting. So in the first episode 9, what's on the board is Tiff. Well, actually, everybody's angry. Tiffany is the most angry
Yes.
because not only did Cube go crazy, he also revealed to everyone else that she had an idol, which previously only the Yanu original members knew about, but now everybody knows about it. So we hear from Tiffany that now she knows that there's a chance she's going to be a target because she has an idol. It may be in her best interest to just use it right away, just to remove it entirely, and then hopefully her threat level will go down. That's kind of what she's thinking. And at that exact moment, she wants Q gone. And her opinion will evolve on that, but at the moment, that seems to be what's going on there. Separately, we also have Hunter. So Hunter, a little innocent in the whole situation at the last tribal, because he sniffed out that the vote was going towards Tevin, and so if you recall, he tried to sway everyone to not do Tevin because Tevin is his ally. Tevin is his +1 in the +1 alliance. That is, by the way, maybe the worst alliance we've ever seen attempted to do anything.
Yeah, off the top of my head, no doubt.
Only ever voted for themselves. They didn't do anything. Accomplished nothing. So he tried to defend Tevin last time. He tried to get everyone to vote for Venus, and he himself voted for Venus because he didn't want to vote for Tevin, and Tevin doesn't vote for himself. So he didn't, but he's the only person left who didn't vote for Tevin. So he feels on the out. So he also is like, this could be risky. Like, now that the 6-person alliance is totally broken apart, I suddenly don't have much protection. I may need to use my idol as well. So both Tiffany and Hunter are thinking about, like, I may need to use my idol. Tiffany is a little bit more aggressive, saying, like, she strategically wants to use it to not have it anymore, to not be a threat. Hunter is more like,
yep.
I'm in grave danger, so there's a chance I might have to use it. So that's what we had on the board. So, like knowing that, I guess going through each person is there anything we could think of a reason to not vote out Q? Because you're right, everything you're saying, they could just all vote out Q and just like deal with everything else later. But I was just trying to think, like, if you're Hunter, maybe you don't want to do that because Q is maybe your only ally left. So that's like his perspective. But if you're Tiffany, like he's then Q is a huge target and maybe the only thing protecting you because other people are going to vote for Q, not you. So maybe Tiff would want to keep. So there's a lot of different perspectives, or Kenzie's perspective where she wants to build her resume and Q wouldn't be a big move for her. She wants to make a big move. So there's a lot of perspectives. So what do you think about different people's priorities here?
Yeah, great question. I thought they were all over the place. I was having I had a sense of relief when Tiffany was mentioning that she could just use her idol, because I thought that, okay, like this is potentially where we could see some really smart strategy come into play, where you could kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Let me explain. One thing that I thought that could be very helpful for everyone is, okay, we blindsided someone last week, but ultimately we all see the chaos that Q presents. And for anyone who doesn't have an idol, they all know that Tiffany has an idol. They don't know that Hunter has an idol at this point. But they could work up a solution to say, okay, why don't we just, rather than trying to even vote out Tiffany, why don't we make it seem like we're going to vote her out, get her to bait out her idol, and then ultimately just vote out Q. You put yourself in a position where she is no longer in a position of power. I don't personally see the threat in Tiffany at this point beyond her having an idol. So, and she has good relationships that she can build. So, that could set up a situation where then she can join the broader group. That would even work to her benefit, right? Like, and that's something she could have proposed herself. She could have said that, hey, now that everyone knows that I have an idol, I'm just going to use my idol today and actually follow through with that. And they all just vote Q. She could try to convince everyone just vote out Q as a show of good faith. Yes, I have an idol. I'm just going to use it right now, just so we're all on equal footing. Is it risky for her to do that? Yes, but I think like that would be a really strong move for her social game. That would also be, if we're talking about your Survivor resume, that would also be really good for her Survivor resume because she's voting out her number 1 and driving that vote. So I just thought that, if that's what the episode is setting up, I'm all for it. But unfortunately, we did not go in that direction. So I thought this was another case of like a missed opportunity there.
I would like to push back on Kenzie's comment, like, what's a better thing for you, originally voting at your number one? I understand, like, this isn't, like, you'll never know what season I'm talking about. Like, yes, there have been people who've gotten to the final tribal council, and it has looked impressive that, like, maybe there was one person who was calling the shots and they had, like, a helper, and then that helper actually, like, betrays them secretly, and then like they look good for that, and even the main person's like, you know what, they got me, impressive. So that there's precedent for that, but I feel like there's a lot more precedent to it's good to have allies, and deleting allies from the game for you doesn't feel like what your first thought should be. So I
I
do
would agree,
now.
but I think this
Tiffany though,
particular
like,
case is quite different.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, I just
What do
meant
you mean?
that like Q in particular, he has shown that he's not like his number one, he just ratted her out. Right? Like this is one of those things that it like let me just 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 to get your brain thinking like what I'm thinking about right now. What was the weaknesses of the previous Yanu members that they voted out, right? Like Jelinski gave up too quickly. Who have we seen do that in that tribe as well? Q. Jess has not really been doing anything and was just kind of lazing around for bits. We've seen Q do that.
Just sitting on the boat on the beach after every trial by
Yeah,
himself.
Banu. Banu would essentially be talking too much. He wouldn't be subtle about stuff. We've seen Q do that too. So each of their weaknesses, we've later seen Q do all those things. And it has not like done anything like he has not faced any negative repercussions for it, which is really bizarre to me. But I think if you're Kenzie, if you're Tiffany, you have major reasons to want to eliminate Q. You don't know how trustworthy he is. You should know that, okay, especially Tiffany, he just revealed something about me that's now putting me under blast. He threw me under the bus. He can do that to anyone. Anytime you're creating a plan with him, he'll flip flop on the plan and change things up on the fly. Going into tribal, he just spun everything up. No one knew what he was talking about. And he just made things way more complicated than they needed to be. And as you had mentioned, the tribe that he was trying to set up, the Core 6, they had so far only been eliminating their own. So, like, all of this together make him a contestant who's not very viable to even have as a teammate. So, I think in this particular
I totally agree
situation,
with you.
for Kenzie's point, I think particularly for Q, yes, I agree with her. But in a general sense, it's not the smartest idea to just off the bat eliminate your number one. No.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. So to be clear though, like, Tiffany voting out her number one, I would argue at this point they are not number ones anymore. I mean, they are enemies, Tiffany and Q.
Yes.
When Kenzie said that, she used that as justification to target Tiffany to make her big move. So that's where I raised an eyebrow for Kenzie. Like, well,
the next episode. Okay.
So, well, she wanted to do in this episode too. It ends up not
I
happening
missed that.
because Tiffany. So if you recall, Kenzie talks to Maria and Charlie with this idea to get Tiffany out, and then Charlie's like, "Oh, let me go talk to Tiff to, make sure she's not gonna play her
that's
idol."
right. Yes.
And then that's when Tiffany. So I don't think Charlie did anything wrong here, but Tiffany kind of like, "Oh, and by the way, like, just because things are kind of crazy, I'm almost certainly gonna play my idol just to get it out of
that's
there."
what blows everything on its head.
And so now, like, not Kenzie, Maria and Charlie are spooked by that. They don't wanna cause trouble by voting for Tiff, and then Tiff saves herself, and then somebody else goes home. So they kind of back out of the plan, and thus Kenzie has to back out of the plan. So when Kenzie makes that comment about voting out your number one, she's talking about getting rid of Tiff.
Right.
Which, it's interesting. Like I said, there's precedent for that being impressive, like if you make the end. But there's still some time to go before we get to the end, if you even get to the end. And I guess what this comes down to is Kenzie wants to get out a threat. And we'll see it in episode 10 too. people want to get out a threat, and they see the immunity idol as a threat. I don't disagree. But some of them also view Tiffany herself as the threat. And I'm not sure. I mean, they're the ones on the island.
Right.
So, and there's a lot of different definitions of threat. Like, she's competitive in the challenges, so that could be a threat. She has the idol currently, which means she could do something with that idol, which that could be threatening. If they think she's sociable and well liked, then maybe she'll be a threat at the end to get jury votes. So maybe, but I think there's an important distinction between the people that just want the idol to be gone and the people that want Tiffany to be gone.
Right.
Because supposedly Kenzie's on the latter group. She wants Tiffany gone, and which she will go back on and change her mind later. But that's
and even preceding this, I thought that this had a pretty interesting immunity challenge where they actually had the groups split up into 3 groups of 3.
Yeah, and real quick, it was called Stage Fright. By the way, that was the name.
Very fitting
because of its different stages. Carry on.
Yeah, so I liked how immediately, just because everyone was turned off from Q's antics, Tiff, Kenzie just immediately were like, oh, okay, like who do we work with? Oh, let's go with Ben, right? Like instead of the Yanu 3 being the 3 remaining Yanu, they're like, okay, we're just replacing
because this
Ben.
one's gonna be like 3 teams of 3 is what we're gonna split up.
Exactly. And then Hunter ends up getting aligned with Maria and Charlie. Maria and Charlie are the duo. They would be happy to join Hunter because Hunter's good at challenges. That leaves the remaining 3 being Q, Venus, and Liz. Who, for Venus and Liz, Q would probably not be their first choice, but they're a little bit too late to the picking, so they just got to go with that option. And this ends up being another sort of not really a relay race, but it's one where it's like there's 2 different forms of elimination where they actually have to, because they're in 3 groups of 3. The goal of this is they go through the challenge, and whichever team completes the challenge first. The first 2 teams, whichever first 2 teams complete the challenge advance to the next round. Then between those 2 remaining teams, whichever completes that next challenge, the last remaining group then splits up into a final challenge between the 3, and that winner ends up winning the immunity idol. So I thought this was interesting. Hunter's team clearly had the advantage. Hunter's been very good in challenges, and that ultimately led to their group pulling ahead. And this was another interesting callback on this, Will. Jeff just outright mentions to Q's group that, I don't see you guys winning this. Like, he just has no faith in them. He has no faith in them. He just outright says that. And
he says they're going to get eliminated first. Not only are they not going to win, like you're going to be the first eliminated.
And they immediately prove him wrong. They're not the first team through, but they're not the last team. So they end up facing Hunter's team for that next challenge where they're tying ropes. And still, it's a 2 groups of 3 challenge. So the groups are working together. And fortunately enough for Hunter and his group, they pull through and are able to make it to this last hanging man challenge where they're essentially holding on to these 2 handlebars and on some very shallow footing and just expect it to stay up as long as they can. It's another test of endurance challenge where, again, we see a rematch of Q and Charlie. Maria unfortunately ends up being first person. Yes, Hunter and Charlie. We end up seeing Maria get eliminated first, and I remember making a joke to you where, I wonder if Hunter's going to flex after winning this one too, but gotta tip your hat to Charlie on this one. He was stable the entire time, did not budge, and Hunter, you could start to see the cracks form, and unfortunately he was not able to pull it through for this one.
No, sir. I know we were all kind of against Q at the time, at least on the island they were. Q kind of Hail Marys suggests to Charlie and Maria, who are going to be on Hunter's team, you guys should just make sure your team doesn't win, because if you 2 are facing Hunter at the last stage, he's going to beat you, and we want to get him out, so you guys should just lose. On paper, I mean, I don't know that that's the worst idea. Like, if Like if they were actually aligned together, if Charlie and Q were an alliance, I think this would be an appropriate conversation. It's like, our target is Hunter. We don't want Hunter to win, and you, Charlie, have an opportunity to make sure he doesn't win. I mean, that is the framework of what Q suggested.
Yes, but why would anyone listen to Q at this point?
Yeah, I guess.
Right? Like, and you're also forget Hunter for a second. You're sabotaging your own chance at potentially winning immunity. Like, why would you do
Also
that?
true. Yeah, that's I guess that's fair. Like,
I think this is just Q, like, just throwing something out there just because he feels he can do no wrong and just seeing with whatever sticks.
And you know what? Charlie shows us all because Charlie just beats Hunter, like you said. So, immunity win for Charlie, and at this point, momentum's building for the Tiffany blindside. But then that conversation we mentioned between Charlie and Tiffany happens. So now they're scared to actually vote for Tiffany, because if Tiffany does use the idol, even if like it ends up being Q then, but now Tiffany knows you targeted her, and that's going to cause drama. So they want to avoid that. So then the plan B becomes Hunter, with the justification being that he's a threat. Now this is purely challenge strength, because it's not like he has. I mean, he has friends, but he doesn't have allies. Like he has no alliance, so it's not his like social power in the game that's a threat. But it's just like, if the longer he's here, the less likely I can win challenges. So I want him out. That seems to be the logic here. But then, and I don't know if did you like this? So Hunter, to his credit, starts getting the whiff of something. Like something doesn't seem quite right, and eventually he starts scrambling to find out who people are voting for, and actually he's trying to get everyone or no, he shows them starts showing people idol. It was actually I think he only shows Kenzie actually. He says he's worried, talks to Kenzie, and is like, Kenzie, just so you know, like I'm telling you this, my number one, like I have an idol and I'm using it now because things are feeling weird to me, so I'm just gonna be safe. And I want you to know so you don't think I lied to you, so I'm telling you. But of course, Kenzie spreads the word, and that word spreads, and suddenly everybody knows he has an idol and might play it. So now people are worried about Hunter having an idol. So plan C would be Q, seemingly. And all of this, by the way, very like sporadic. We like literally like Hunter running around the island to go talk to people, and then talking to Venus and Liz and trying to get them to vote his way. And they're like, "Why did you talk to us like so late? Like this is weird." Tiffany doesn't buy it. She's like, "Oh, suddenly now he has an idol? I think he's bluffing," which turns out he's not. But like, is there anything else maybe Hunter could have done to? Because actually this attempt fails. Like he ends up still being the target.
Yeah, this just speaks of desperation. I think that Hunter's intuition was correct, so I was liking where that was going. But it was very predictable in the sense that Hunter would be the vote, and it's just a matter of, is he actually using his idol or not? And where he could have played his hand a little bit better is, maybe once he sees that, okay, like I can't trust Q too much, maybe bring in someone else, right? Like maybe try to work your social game early. Like don't do it just before you're heading into tribal. I think that puts you in a position where, yes, you're ultimately shooting yourself in the foot. Try to at least get a new number one or see what you can work with, or even if you can get a group, like that's great. And if you have to reveal to someone you have an idol, do it. And maybe they'll understand, right? Like if you're just talking to someone one-on-one, you don't necessarily have to reveal to everyone else. I think that could have worked out a little bit better for him. But I think this is one of those cases where, it was not looking good for Hunter. And he's just, what is he going to do at tribal? That's what the question became. And, leading up to that, this was another situation where you see a lot of chaos unfold because every variable that we have into play at this point, a lot of people are talking, trying to figure things out. Hunter continues to look more and more desperate once they're in tribal. He's, when Jeff is coming in, sitting down, talking to everyone, having that pre-tribal chat, we see Hunter asking everyone, "Oh, is Q still the vote? Is Q the vote?" And you're sitting there wondering, okay, like this seems very familiar. Like, if you're looking at the previous episode we just watched, looked at that tribal, well, yeah, it's not as chaotic as that. This is still a very chaotic tribal. And there's still like it just seems like, there's a distraction in play here, and Q is a potential distraction, and the vote is going to be leaning on Hunter. And for me, the question again was just, is Hunter going to be using his idol or is he not?
And it looked like he was picking up on it. I mean, like he was nervous for a reason. And like I guess the difference in the previous live tribal, everyone's talking to everyone. In this case, it's really only Hunter trying to talk while Jeff is talking. But I just thought it was funny, like that Jeff didn't be like, "Hunter, you look like you have something to say." Like I'm thinking like a teacher in class when someone's talking. Like I thought he was going to do that, but he actually didn't do that.
I think the one moment that did genuinely surprise me was I was expecting him to use his idol, so the fact that he didn't, just like that caught me by surprise. I thought, yeah, like he's gesturing towards his pocket as though he's about to pull it out. But then when Jeff asks the question, we see him still contemplating, and ultimately he doesn't. They go on to the vote, and it ends up being a split vote, which I think is like only the second time I've seen that. But anyways, goes to a split vote where, interestingly enough, the 9th vote was the vote Q ultimately had, which she placed on Ben. And that was probably just a conversation between Q and Hunter where they're talking about potentially getting Ben out. Regardless, they have a revote, so they have to do their votes again, and this time they can only select Hunter or they can select Q. And as you were describing to me, this is a situation where, because he already chose not to use his idol, he does not have a choice here. He can't go in with an idol for this deciding vote. And unfortunately for Hunter, he does end up getting eliminated more definitively here.
Yeah, this is actually a classic way to flush an idol via the split vote, because if you split the vote like this and the person that you think has an idol doesn't play the idol, now they're stuck, and now everybody can actually pile on that person. Funny enough, in this case, most of them are doubtful that he even has an idol. Their actually main reason is because he's a challenge beast, but it works anyway. And Hunter goes home with the idol in his pocket. Now, F, did Hunter impress you enough to want to see him on a future season Survivor?
I don't know where his social game was at. I think that if he's someone who can refine and build a better social game, he could be a very interesting contestant. And I like to have a high bar. I hate the fact that just last week we were talking about Tevin, and I was like, yeah, he could be someone I would want to see come back. And I hate going from that to say also the same thing for this. Like, I truly want to have a high bar and say, not just say like, oh, this person should come back, this person should come back. But I think Hunter ultimately did play a good game. He's just a case of like a what if. His intuition was right. He just kind of second guessed himself right at the very last moment. So I think there was an opportunity for him to go even further. And for that reason, yeah, I would like to see what he would be capable of in another season where he has more opportunities to work on that social game or show the social game. I don't see him as someone who's lacking a social game. People clearly liked him. We just didn't see him talk to people. So I would want to see him come back. Yes.
Fair enough. So we move to episode 10, which, although the name of this episode is Run the Red Light, it actually should have been titled The Applebee's Episode.
The Applebee's Episode. Pretty much.
Because that's what everyone's going to remember. And actually, chronologically, it is one of the very first thing that happens in the episode, because they go to reward challenge. Not too often we get like a individual reward challenge that's not for immunity. At least one that's shown. Because sometimes it happens, but it doesn't make the episode. But we actually get to see it, and we will find out why we're going to see it. So they're all going to compete for an Applebee's reward, and Jeff just goes through, like, I guess the Applebee's menu and lists off all these various things that you can go get your local Applebee's today. And we find out that Liz actually has a real emotional attachment to Applebee's because she and her daughter have this Wednesday night ritual where they go to Applebee's and she gets the burger and her daughter gets the pizza. They spend dinner there, then they go home and watch Survivor. Because you remember, kind of what you were talking about before, despite what they look like and what they do, all these people actually are huge Survivor fans at this point. So even if they don't maybe act like it, they all know the game very, very well. So yeah, she watches Survivor every night with her kid. Very emotional. And it hasn't been like a prominent part of the story, but it's mentioned a couple times over the season that Liz apparently can't eat anything on the island. Like the coconuts, almost not any of the fruit she can't eat. Most of her rewards she can't eat. And in the modern era, in the new era, they don't get rice. So they're just, she has nothing.
Very unfortunate situation to be in. Just unintentionally kind of handicapping her in a way. But if this episode doesn't make you want to go to Applebee's, you don't know what you're missing, folks.
Oh yeah, I mean, when this came out, so many, like when these sponsorships happen, they're always. I think people are more like like back in the day they were just cringe. I think now people have a better attitude towards them. They accept them for what they are. Like have a nice laugh about them. The actual challenge is really like a obstacle course. Run through several obstacles. You're jumping over, crawling through, and your ultimate. There's kind of a cool part where you need to throw like sandbags or beanbags, whatever, like through kind of a tunnel and get them all through. But when you get through all the parts of the obstacle course, you're left with one bag, and you're trying to toss it up from pretty far away to a really tall, like peak, like tower type of thing, and you just need to land one to win. But it's pretty hard to land it, and there's some funny Jeff comments as usual, like Liz still like so last place
last.
says dead last.
Really motivational there, Jeff.
Yeah, but Liz actually does catch up because everyone's struggling to toss the bag up there, and Liz gets one chance. She makes her throw, and it's close. We get the slow motion, but it bounces off, misses, which would have been a crazy thing to come back. And in fact, it is Q that wins this individual reward challenge, and so he's gonna get the Applebee's reward, and he's gonna end up having to pick 3 additional people with him to go on the reward. And oh my god, we get what has become iconic Survivor moment. So he picks Tiffany. He kind of says he's looking to mend the wounds there. So all right. He picks Maria, and he cites that Maria went to talk to him while he was kind of by himself out on the beach. So all right. And then one more, and Liz is literally begging and crying to go, and she's told the story to everybody. Even Jeff repeats her story. And I think America thought, the world thought, Jeff Probst thought, everyone thought that Q was going to pick Liz as the last person. And Q even's like, yeah, Liz hasn't been able to eat and everything, and I feel bad, ... But my actual pick's going to be Kenzie. I'm like, oh my god, Q.
I was just joking about it when we were watching the entire sequence unfold. I was telling you, like, what if he just looks her straight in the face and just chooses someone else? Like, that's just,
I know, it's crazy. And Liz eventually like is clearly emotional about it, and Jeff asks like, if it's okay with you, do you want to tell us what you're feeling? And she just starts screaming in anger
has a meltdown
at Q. A couple of things is like, you've totally blown up my game, and because part of this is not just that she lost this opportunity for food because she's starving, can't eat, and the opportunity to kind of like like spiritually feel like she's with her daughter with this experience. And also she's already mad at Q for being Q. And also Liz, and I don't know if we, the audience, truly agreed with her, but Liz feels that voting out Tevin was totally her move, as well as the move before that, which was Soda. She thought both of those are her moves. But she also feels that Q's shenanigans overshadowed the second one. And like, so now it's frustrating. And I thought the funniest part though is that like Q's staying calm through most of this, and then Q's like, yeah, but Liz, you voted for me. And then we hear nothing from Liz.
Yeah, I mean, he's not wrong. And as much as you feel for her in this moment, he does not have to extend a hand out and help her. Like, she's competing against him. So in a sense, is it pretty cutthroat? Yes. Would a lot of people be a little bit more empathetic in that case? Yes. But like, he's just playing the game. Like, you can't really fault him for that.
Not at all. I mean, it was still hard to watch because ultimately he's picking three people. Like, could one of them have been Liz? Maybe. But then again,
I
part of this.
I couldn't do that in his shoes. I would have definitely at least tried to bring her in.
But I guess like he's like if he's not giving up, he wants to build a new alliance or at least a voting block for this vote to hope that the votes aren't on him. So he decides to bring Tiffany and Kenzie with the hopes of rekindling the old Yanu alliance. And then Maria, he says because she like was kind to him, but I think that's like half of it. The other half of it is, well, if she was willing to come up to me, maybe that means she's willing to work with me. So maybe I could do something here. That seems to be the idea. Whereas Liz, he has no connection to Liz. So he's like, why would I waste my time trying to start an alliance with her? Like, it's not gonna happen. Then again,
no, I mean that like he would just quite literally be helping her. That's really the only case.
Yeah, then again, was it also wasting his time to try with Kenzie and Tiffany because they do not seem to be interested at all in restarting that alliance?
Yeah, I mean he doesn't know that, but it's worth a shot.
Yeah, so just wild. And then this isn't in the episode, and they don't reveal it in the season, but this would be a rare time I give you like off the season chatter. So we would find out later in later interviews that in this moment, the people that you picked, especially like Kenzie, they actually do offer to swap with Liz because they're moved by all this, and they're like, well, now I feel, even though I'm not the one picking, I feel bad now, so I'll offer my spot to swap. But before Jeff could even intervene, Q himself just is like, no, like I'm the one picking, so I'm saying who goes. Which is probably what the rule is, because right, like you won the challenge, you earned the right to pick. But wow, that's cold. that is cold.
Yeah, I mean, again, he's just kind of playing his game. Like, of all the things I fault Q for, this is not really one of them. It is cutthroat, but it does not make too much sense for his game to try to help out Liz, especially for what we the viewers know.
Now, for everybody else, this does dig Q deeper though, because the people that don't go on reward, so Liz and Venus and Charlie and Ben, they just talk to each other about how much they hate Q. So he's really gambling on the people he brings will actually like want to work with him, because the people he doesn't bring are plotting his demise. But interesting what we see on the reward, like I mentioned. So Kenzie and Tiff are not swayed at all. Maria, I guess maybe swayed isn't accurate, but she reaffirms that maybe this is a relationship that can be of use to me, is kind of how she phrases it. Like she's not burning a bridge, whereas Tiffany and Kenzie are glad to burn this bridge. So then we have the immunity challenge. Oh wait, actually, before the immunity challenge, they come back from their reward, And for some reason, they just can't help themselves from describing in painstaking detail every single thing they ate and everything they didn't eat too, which included Liz's favorite burger. And I'm
Well,
like,
I
come
thought
on.
it was odd that Charlie even asked them. Charlie actually asked them, like, "Oh, like, so you got to give us like the details, like what happened." I'm like, well, "Hey, you're like starving here. Why do you care? Like, why do you care to know what they ate? Like, what is the end goal with that? Like, are you
Well,
trying to make yourself hungry?"
well, maybe he just didn't expect them to go that deep into it. Like he just wanted to be polite. Um,
Yeah,
or conspiracy theory. I mean, maybe he just wanted he's just egging them on to just make everyone else even more mad or something, like his own version of chaos. So I don't know.
another interesting thing that happened during that sequence was they described that no one ate the bourbon burger, which is especially the
Yes.
burger that Liz likes. And I just thought that was fascinating that, like, could they have potentially just brought that back for her? Like, could they have done
In,
that?
in present day, it's against the rules. Now, could they have like
Okay.
deceived production? Maybe. You'll recall in 47, Rachel tries to steal rice from the challenge and gets caught. But if you don't get caught, then I mean they're not gonna make you throw it up. Like what's done is done. I mean, it's probably hard to sneak burgers back, but you could try. But it used to not be against the rules. You could do that in the past.
Yes,
Um,
we did see
but
that.
okay. So now immunity challenge. This one was called Wrist Assured. So everyone is holding on to a handle with a rope wrapped around it, and it's connected to a bucket that has a percentage of your body weight from before the season, and to kind of balance things. And eventually, as your hands get weaker, the handle's gonna spin, and if it spins too much, then the rope will unravel, and your bucket will smash and break like a ceramic tile of some kind, and you lose. Um, this is weird. Jeff tries to negotiate for Rice again, and this time only Kenzie really seriously offers, and then eventually Liz kind of says she would do it. He's looking for 4 people to sit out of the challenge again, and at this point, especially with the chaos going on, I think everyone's like, "I need to be safe, so I'm not gonna sit out." And then he's like, "All right, well, I'll bring. How about if one person, or for each individual person that sits out, I'll give you like a little jar of rice." And everyone kind of encourages Liz to do that, and she takes it. And I told you I was watching. I was like, did they just feel bad for Liz? Were they banking on her going on
They
this reward?
absolutely
And
did. They
like,
absolutely did. They just wanted to throw her bone. No doubt
and they're
about
like,
that.
"Oh no, we're gonna like accidentally starve a player to death. What have we done?" So yeah,
Yeah, this was otherwise this was an interesting challenge. If you recall from season 48, this is the one that like David and Joe were like just dominating, and like I don't remember fully if they were setting the record, but like
was
that's
that
the
was that one of them where like one of them was holding it and then like with one hand just like stretching or something like
yeah,
that?
David just flexing.
But it's
Like
like,
they were talking to each other the whole time, and I'm pretty sure I might be wrong here. I think they set the record in terms of the time, but it's that same challenge.
yep, yep. Everyone's like pretty openly rooting against Q while this is happening. I guess they're doing it from the bench, so it's kind of far away. But even Venus, like after she's eliminated, she's like waving her arms, like drop it, drop it. It's like casting a spell.
They don't have to worry for too long because it's Charlie and Tiffany who are the final two here, and Tiffany seems like she's in a pretty good spot. Charlie seems to be kind of moving up and down, but slowly like pulling himself back up as he's starting to lose a little bit of the grip. And then we just see all of a sudden Tiffany just drop it. And we have I don't know if we need to read too much into it, but the sequence afterwards is Charlie goes to try to help her up as she falls down. She just picks herself back up, and clearly she's a little bit bothered by the loss. And then following his win, we see Charlie. This is now the second tribal that he's won. We see we see Charlie talk about like how he prepared 2 years in advance and worked on his grip strength because he knew that he would have these sorts of challenges where it would test him. And to his benefit, it worked out for him, and he was able to come away with a clean win.
This kind of preparation, I think, like doesn't bother me. Like I like it. Like let's say, because what does bother me is, oh no, like I can't do fire. I'm like, but you know you're gonna have to do fire. Like every single season that's ever happened involved, and you just never practiced fire, or like you never tried to get comfortable swimming. Like that annoys me. So this is more similar. Like, oh, that's pretty cool. That's a good idea. But then,
Yep.
Who was it? In David vs Goliath, it was Christian. This isn't exactly the same thing, but it just so happened like he just knows slide puzzles. Like he just knows that. So I don't know if I don't know. I guess he didn't prepare that specifically for Survivor, but because of that, he just like instantly solved like any slide puzzle the challenge they had.
Yeah.
So it kind of felt like that. So Charlie is safe. He has the idol, and Tiffany and Kenzie are very happy to vote out Q. I think this is when Q like tries to go to talk to Kenzie. Kenzie's like, "No, I don't want to explain. I don't want to hear anything from you. I have no intention of working with you." Q just has to like, all right. Not looking good for Q.
No.
Maria. So the sequence of events here is Maria goes to talk to Kenzie because Kenzie is the one who wanted to get Tiff the previous vote. And Maria's like, "Is that still on the table?" But Kenzie has decided she no longer wants to do that. And I think part of her reasoning is now, like she was pretty confident if they had voted for Tiffany, Tiffany would not have played her idol, and so she just would be gone. But now, I guess she might be a little less certain that Tiffany wouldn't play her idol, and she doesn't want a failed blindside because then Tiffany's still in the game, and she's gonna be like really mad, and that's gonna be bad for Kenzie because Kenzie doesn't really have. In fact, if anything, Kenzie's number 2 was Hunter from Hunter's perspective. But Kenzie, I don't know, like Kenzie felt that way. So Kenzie doesn't want to do that. She's just going to go with Q. Kenzie also says, I think what a lot of the audience is saying, like, basically, Q doesn't deserve to keep going because if he doesn't want to be here, it'd be a slap in the face to keep him around for all the people that do want to be here.
Yep. Absolutely right.
That being said, do what you got to do to win. So if someone feels that to win they need to keep Q, like I'm not going to hold it against that person necessarily, but it is like a heroic thing for Kenzie to say. Unfortunately for Kenzie, though, Maria has decided I liked that idea, and I think it would be best for me, so I'm going to find a way to do it with or without Kenzie. And so she talks to her original Sega group, which is Charlie and Ben. They are okay with it. And then Q, who Maria has bonded with, is clearly okay with it because otherwise it's going to be him, so he's okay with it. So that's 4. So they want 5 so that they can make this 5-3 instead of a 4-4 tie. And this is interesting. So their choices to get a 5th vote, they could ask Kenzie, but Maria already tried that at the beginning. It was a non-starter, so that's probably not a good idea. They could try Venus, who has not really been involved in anyone's plans, even if Venus feels like they're all her plans, and is generally distrusted. And then Liz, who may not be distrusted, it's just that she just has a blood feud with Q, like hates Q, and you'd be asking her to not vote for Q. A tall order. So that's who they have to choose from. So like I remember when I watched this the first time, like, I don't know, Maria, this feels dangerous for this to work out. What did you think of it?
Again, my thought was the same as it was the previous episode. You could just bait her out to using the idol, right? Like scare her, like try to make it more apparent that you're voting her out, but actually have the vote be on Q. Kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I thought if you're employing a strategy to eliminate someone, you could do that while simultaneously decreasing the threat level of Tiffany.
Oh, interesting. So maybe you're saying actually tell Kenzie that it's happening, and you're basically either Kenzie agrees, in which case you are all blindsiding Tiffany, or Kenzie does tell Tiffany, so Tiffany will play her idol, and then at that point it's probably going to be Q. I guess the only danger with that is like if it's Maria that tells Kenzie, then what if they vote for Maria? So then Tiffany uses her idol, and then the rest of us are Maria. So that might be dangerous, but maybe there's a way to finesse it to make that happen.
Yeah, my initial thought off the top of my head is make Kenzie think it's going to be Tiffany. Tiffany would probably be told by Kenzie, try to convince Q that it's also going to be Tiffany. And for everyone else, just have them set their sights on Q. Right? That way, like,
okay,
if
I
it's
see.
their
So,
Tiffany a little bit, she'd be like, okay,
okay.
well, I kind of have to use it.
Got it. So like Maria, Charlie, Ben, and Liz, they actually vote for Q, like what was supposed to happen, but they tell Kenzie that they're voting for Tiffany. So at that point, okay, that's savvy. That would have been an interesting move. And then obviously Kenzie and Tiffany are mad, but you outnumber them at that point. Interesting. Okay.
Mhm.
What they actually do is they appeal to Liz and just hope that Liz can look past her anger at Q to target Tiffany because Tiffany has an idol. And we go to tribal council. It's not chaotic necessarily, but it's like everybody is saying the company line of like it's gonna be Q. Like this time, everyone is really saying it's gonna be Q. It's gonna be Q, and it's because they're trying to deceive Tiffany and technically also Kenzie, but they don't want Tiffany to play the idol.
Yeah.
And I guess what they've done here, yeah. I'm distracted by your suggestion. That actually feels like that would have been a good idea because the thing here is that they really do trick Tiffany, but I guess what they did worked out. I think what they did was just risky, but it worked out. That's what it was. Anyway, when they do go to vote, oh, and by the way, this is where was it this vote or last vote where Jeff had his popcorn? Because that was also
It was, yeah, I believe it was this vote.
yeah, one of them. He's like,
No,
like,
last vote.
That last
vote.
tribal was just
where he had it was the previous one. It was because the one before that was so long and chaotic. He brought a seat and brought the popcorn. Yeah, I think it was the last one.
So I guess no popcorn this time, at least none that we saw. But we would end up having 3 votes for Q, which came from Kenzie, Tiffany, and Venus. But everyone else, Ben, Charlie, Liz, Maria, and Q, they do in fact vote for Tiffany, and Tiffany does not play her idol. She is blindsided, and another person goes home with an idol in their pocket. Crazy. Like the third person to be voted out this season with an idol. And the fourth person to not be able to use it because that's Randon gets back with an idol.
Third week also of a blindside, second week in a row of no idol usage, and you can see where this is going, how repetitive and like it's chaotic, but it's like there are elements that are just becoming way too predictable. Like Q is becoming the distraction play for everyone, but then ultimately they're not actually trying to eliminate Q.
Yeah, I think it is like focusing on who's left in the game. Like if you think you can beat Q, I guess like you don't need to get him out. I guess the sweet spot is you think you can beat Q and you're also not using Q as part of your alliance. Because that would be risky. Like if I need to rely on Q to go forward, that doesn't seem like a good idea. So you need to kind of be doing so like very quietly, the like Ben, Charlie, and Maria kind of group looks pretty good now. Because at this point,
yeah,
with 7 people left, Kenzie and Q are the only people from Yadu, and I mean they're not on the same page. And then Liz
and Venus
are from Nami. They're not enemies, but I don't know that the only thing they agree on is wanting to get out Q. And they didn't even both vote for Q. Actually, Venus voted for Q in this vote, while Liz voted for Tiffany.
Mhm.
And that leaves Maria, Charlie, and Ben. So through the chaos, I mean, criticize it if you want, but it's looking real good. These decisions work out real well for Maria, Charlie, and Ben.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. I just don't like how we got to this point. It's just it just doesn't feel like I said, it's a lot of it is becoming way too predictable, and it's like you look at the people who have positions of power or opportunities to protect themselves and they don't do it. And again, that just goes back to the common theme of you're just fumbling or you're doing something that can end up being self-destructive, and you're not playing a smart game, right? Like it just seems like there's way too many contestants this season which this applies to. And Q's still in the game, and he's not playing the smart game either. He's playing one of the worst games that I've seen, yet he's still in the game. Venus, I'm not really sure what her game plan is. She's making herself just unlikable to anyone. She's still in the game. There's few people in there who are like, yeah, they're playing the game. They're doing things. Kenzie is. Tiffany was. Yeah, I would say that the rest of the Green Tribe is doing a good job. I like them all. Ben, Charlie, Maria, I think. I'd be happy if any one of them came away with a win. So we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, I guess this is a good time. So we have few enough people who can do that. So this is related to your winner pick, but just which players seem to be in contention for a win here? So this isn't the same as your winner pick. This is anybody who seems like they're playing a winning game right now. So alphabetically, how do you think Ben's doing?
Ben's doing okay. I think he can do better. He was in a position of, he was in a threat range previously, which he's gotten out of. He's a likable person, but he needs to do better in challenges. But I think that in a way can take some of the immediate threat away from him, which could make him last longer. Or if you compare that to Charlie's similar traits, likable, but like he's now starting to win challenges, so people might see him as a threat. Maria is making these moves subtly, so I think Maria is the first person who comes to mind. And Kenzie tends to get along with most people. She also needs to do better in challenges, and her tribal lines are weakening, so she doesn't have the starting bonds that like the Green Tribe, for example, has. So I think any of my winner picks would be, it's either between Charlie or Maria. I'm more leaning towards Maria.
But do you think that, so you mentioned Ben, Charlie, Kenzie, Maria, so are all of them playing a game that seems like they could win?
Yeah.
Or are you limiting it to Maria and Charlie?
I think any of one of those has a viable chance to win. I think if just for whatever reason we continue to have these meltdowns, Q can kind of sneak into there because he is impacting the game in a sense. But it's like, I have a hard time believing he would win a jury vote. So like, it's just, he would be my shot in the dark pick to win, like if anything. But like realistically, I don't think he has a chance. It's just, can you create a situation for everyone? Yeah. In a similar vein, you could see, okay, how things continue to fall, people continue to self-destruct. Q can come out on top and act as the leader for whoever's remaining if they actually choose to listen to him. But yeah, the four that I mentioned, the Green Tribe, I keep forgetting their name, and then plus Kenzie, I think. The Siga plus Kenzie, I think. Those are the four that I viably see.
Gotcha. Meanwhile, Liz, Venus, and Q seem like unlikely.
Very unlikely.
But what if the final three is Liz, Q, and Venus? Haha. Somebody's got to win.
Just based on impact, it's probably Q. He's going to win.
Is that your nightmare scenario? Liz, Q, and Venus at the
end? I would say so.
Funny.
What does it make it sound like that's where we are headed?
I mean, no, I'm not revealing anything. I was just curious where your head's at as we drive towards the end. So now officially, Ben is your last remaining winner pick as Hunter was eliminated. Will you be sticking with Ben?
I'm a ride or die guy. So, yes, sir.
Ride or die. All right.
Stick with Ben.
All right.
The
Fair
person
enough.
who called Q a villain, like he's straight up a villain.
Maybe that's what we're missing. Like these blindsides, usually they're exciting when it's like a rivalry and one side of the rivalry blindsides the other side of the rivalry. Like, oh, what a move. But these have been, well, we're all rivals with Q, but actually I'll vote out someone who's not my rival. He's just generic threats. Like,
Yeah.
Like if Liz, it wouldn't be a blindside because everyone wants to get Q out. But if hypothetically, if Liz blindsided Q, that feels like she's defeating the villain, her personal adversary. So like, even if it played out exactly the same way, I think that would have the punch we're looking for.
Right.
Whereas like no one hated Tiffany except for Q maybe, and it's not like Q made that blindside happen.
No one hated Hunter either. The two people who were previously eliminated were some of the more likable people in the tribes.
Yeah. So maybe that's what it is. Like A, like as a viewer, we're sad to see people that we like go, and then B, like sometimes when the post merge is like tribe versus tribe. It's not that we hate Hunter, but this tribe hates that tribe. Like we're fighting each other. So this is a crazy move to get out an enemy type of thing, and that's not what these have been. So we'll see how things continue. Will we get that nightmare final tribal we discussed? We'll have to find out next time when we go through season 46, episodes 11 and 12. So we have 2 more watch sessions for the season. So we're almost done.
I would say I was looking forward to it, but yeah, this has definitely been the worst season so far for me.
It has 3 episodes to change your mind. So we shall see. All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to This Week on Island Life. And tune in next time. Until then, and until we speak again, ciao.